Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you for being with me again today. What is better than an alliance? So let's say I say, well, Tom and I are, in an alliance. What is higher? What is better? What is closer than an alliance? What could that be? I don't know, friendship. I don't know, love, a loving relationship. What could be? Unification. Well, this is the issue with China and Russia at this point. They claim, these two countries, through their diplomats or officials, that their relationship, the relationship between Russia and China, is better than an alliance. And I'm asking, what would be a good term to define that state of facts? So let's see how they define it. I have this article from South China Morning Post, and this is from June 2nd, 2022, and this is the title: Russia's relationship with China is better than an alliance, says ambassador. Okay, my question was, what is that? So the relationship between China and Russia is better than an alliance and has withstood the pressure triggered by the ongoing Ukraine war, according to senior Russian diplomats. Speaking ahead of an opening of a symbolically important cross-border bridge, Russia's ambassador to China, Andrei Denisov, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the Ukraine crisis has pushed Moscow and Beijing closer together. And I'm quoting, "The relationship between China and Russia is not an alliance, but is better than an alliance. This relationship is flexible, with no upper limits and restrictions," Denisov said in an online China-Russia relations forum on Wednesday. Do you have questions about the biggest topics and trends from around the world? Yeah, this is, they tell you where to find that knowledge. The relationship is not directed at third countries and is not affected by changes in external situations, they claim. Ties between China and Russia are under close scrutiny in the West since Russia invaded Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. Before Russia's military operation started, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping met in Beijing and declared there was no limit to their partnership. Beijing has refused to condemn Russia for invading Ukraine, prompting warnings, like a principal who gets a child in a principal's office and warns the child, if you do it again, I'm going to do something. Prompting warnings from the U.S. that Beijing would have to face consequences if it helped Russia to bypass sanctions. That means that's threats and blackmail. That's how you do it. Beijing has said it will continue to trade with Russia, and the US reportedly has not found evidence that Beijing is backing Moscow militarily. And I'm quoting, "I believe that the hybrid war waged by the West against Russia has opened up new opportunities to expand pragmatic cooperation between Russia and China, including in the areas of investment and finance," Lavrov said. Lavrov and Denisov said trade between the two nations reached 140 US billion dollars last year, and a bridge linking the northeastern Chinese city of Heihe, sorry for the pronunciation, and Blagoveshchensk is the Russian Far East will open. In the Russian Far East will open. Well, that could be destroyed with one missile. So, yeah, the bridge, which spans the Heilong River, known as the Amur, yeah, I know Amur, in Russia, was first proposed in 1988, ahead of a historic visit to Beijing by Mikhail Gorbachev. The Soviet leader's visit ended decades of frosty relations, but work on the bridge did not begin until December 2016 under President Vladimir Putin. Lavrov said China and Russia would develop their financial infrastructure, increasing the use of local currencies in settlements between the two nations, a move seen as offsetting the impact of Russia's being kicked out of the international SWIFT payment systems. Such sanctions account for around 20% of the trade between the two nations. He continued that China and Russia share a similar stance in global affairs and oppose the US dominating the setting of international affairs. Okay. It says that we reject illegal unilateral sanctions, which are tools for political pressure, Lavrov said. Speaking at the same forum, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi also said international and regional security cannot and should not be guaranteed by strengthening military blocs. And I'm quoting, only by firmly adhering to the concept of win-win and taking into account the security of other countries when seeking our own security, we can embark on a mutual, beneficial, and win-win security path, he said. It sounds good, but one thing is when people say, the other thing is when they're going to put it in practice. Russia obviously claimed for some time that the NATO expansion eastward in Europe would clash with their security concerns, and NATO did not care about it and just pushed forward. Then we got to this situation in Ukraine where, besides the fact that it had intentions, 2008, remember, in Bucharest summit, they said, NATO leaders said that Ukraine and Georgia could possibly be part of NATO one day, at which Putin said, yeah, okay, Lavrov, let's go start making some plans because these guys are not listening. And they didn't. Then in 2014, it was that coup d'etat in Ukraine. Bloody, I must say. It was not a popular uprising, as you know. There was some help from outside. You can hear some American officials talking about it. Victoria Nuland, for instance, with then U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, talking about who they should put in charge. And then the democratically elected government, as corrupt as it was, and corrupt this is too now, was overthrown. And then, according to Russia, illegitimate future governments came to power. That's why Russia doesn't really recognize Zelensky as the legitimate leader of the country, because he is a consequence of that overthrow, even if they organize elections and so on. But I'm not going to go deeper into that. It's just that they pushed Russia further and further and further, and they NATO and the club, they ignored Russia's security concerns. And then the Russia said, this is what we want to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is a red line, cross the red line, including killing a lot of Russian how should I put it? I don't want to say Russian speaking, because I can be a Russian speaking. I learned some Russian, and I'm speaking Russian. My kids speak Russian, let's say, and they are Russians. They're not Russians. You know what I mean? Genetically, you're not Russian. But I'm talking about genetically Russian people living in Ukraine, eastern Ukraine, were slaughtered by the Kiev government, the illegitimate, according to the Russians. So Russia supported their, I don't want to say connationals, but you know what I mean, their people, if you want, and told them, back off, stop, back off. And then they had the Minsk agreements. Ukraine did not implement it. The guarantors, remember what the guarantors? Some Western countries did not help Ukraine implement that. For what? For 8 years or something? So then Russia said, no, enough, it's enough. According to Russian sources, about between 12,000 and 15,000 of their connationals were killed in this military operations started by Kiev. All right, well, as I said, this is the second club emerging, China, Russia, and whomever wants to come over, maybe India. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.